coming to you from the home of the mini trees. Inspirational, motivational, so come along with us.
This week's edition brings you an interview with Jarrid Whitney, the Executive Director of Financial Aid and Admissions at Caltech, Maya Deshpande's tour of Stanford and San Francisco, and Claire Langdon's talk about Bob Wright. Hello, my name is Tej Singh, and I'm broadcasting from New Jersey on behalf of Stanford Online High School students from around the globe. So, hello world. With us here today is Mr. Whitney, the Executive Director of Financial Aid, and he's the Director of Admissions at Caltech. It's such a pleasure having you here on the show today. I really appreciate your generosity of time.
Well, great. Thanks for inviting me to be a part of it.
So I think the first question is something everyone wants to know. It's because a great majority of those who apply to Caltech are qualified in terms of great test scores, a GPA, extracurriculars, you name it. So how do you do the seemingly impossible task of selecting the incoming class? Are there some aspects of the admission process that are more significant than others, or what's the general criteria you use?
Sure. I always say working in college admissions, especially at a place like Caltech, it's a very humbling position to be in, because you're right, most of the students who have applied are amazing students academically and have great personal characteristics. For our selection process, we take it a step further to really look at students' passion for math and science. So beyond just the numbers, beyond just what they're doing as just a general high school age student, we'd love to see demonstrated interest and passion for math and science in a variety of activities, through their writing, and just who they are as a person.
So I get how some students, some might attend the Olympiad, but for other students, let's say who might not attend schools that that they've been given the opportunity to take programs above AP, Calc, BC, or whatever, how would they show their demonstrated interest, and do they still have a chance of getting into Caltech?
Definitely. It's very important for our admissions committee to look at everybody in the context of the school they're coming from. So if it's a school that doesn't have many resources, they can still show and demonstrate their passion for math and science. Maybe they're doing an online program like the Stanford Online program. Maybe they're doing research just down the street at a local community college. Maybe they're just self-teaching themselves physics because that's what they love to do in their off time. Anything that can tell us and show to us that they're passionate about math and science is what we're ultimately looking for.
Yeah, it certainly would have to be more than just watching The Martian, where they talk about Caltech. I remember that movie at the one of the scenes was at Caltech, the NASA propulsion lab. So many families believe that just because Caltech is a private university, it must be out of their budget compared to other public or state universities, and they don't realize the extent to which you offer generous financial aid. So how much assistance can the university provide, and is it possible for students who think that Caltech might be out of their reach to be well suited here in terms of financially?
Exactly. I mean, I think you hit the point exactly right. Too many families get caught up on just the private part of the statement that you made, and they just assume that it's too much out of their reach. And it's amazing how many great schools there are with wonderful financial aid opportunities. At Caltech, yes, it is very expensive, but when you put it into context of what money we can offer families, especially based on the demonstrated need of the family, we do an incredible job of making this place affordable for families. So our financial aid does have great options for need-based programs. We don't give merit scholarships. It's all based on the financial need of the family. But if you look at our overall cost of attendance around $65,000, that's a sticker price shock, we understand. But many of our families, over 50% of our students, receive financial aid from Caltech. A lot of that money can be very much free money that don't have to pay back, that can help contribute to their education here.
Yeah, and it's a large, amount, over 50%. So going back to the questions about admissions, so should a competitive student be, well-rounded in the sense that he or she might be a jack of all, master of none, or lopsided, for example, deeply focused in one or two specific pursuits? Or what's your take on that? Because lots of parents have that question.
I often like to say that we're looking for a well-rounded class of students. Individual students don't have to be well-rounded. They can be very, quote unquote, angular in nature. They can be very passionate in one area or another. But I would say also that if you look at the world of science today, it's best for us to bring contributors to science that are coming from different perspectives. And if the student comes from maybe an artistic background, or somebody who loves being on stage, or maybe an athlete, or somebody who just loves being a participant in groups and clubs, we love those sorts of things, but they don't have to do many things to impress us. We just like to see that they're involved community members in some form.
Yes, makes sense. So now moving on to the section about high school, so we're speaking about high schoolers. How was your high school experience like? Did you have any particular teachers or courses that you still remember, that you loved, and you took away something that struck you, or helped you in life till this day?
I always tell people I was very lucky to go to the school I went to. I grew up in upstate New York in a very small town. My high school graduating class was about 100 students. And there wasn't the pressure of going off to college because many people in our community didn't go off to college. Neither of my parents went to college. So for me, the motivation was really driven from it within. I wanted to do well. I wanted to go off to a great school. I didn't know really what that meant while I was in high school, but I had great teachers who motivated me and who looked out for me to make sure I took that next step. And I say I was lucky to go there because I didn't have the pressure of going to, let's say, a name brand school or the prestige factor. I just had teachers look out for me because I knew I needed to take the next step to college.
Yeah, and that, that's a common thread I've seen between other people, who have been on our show. They might not necessarily have known what they were going to do, early on in their life, but if you just follow your passion, it'll take you somewhere.
Exactly. No, I think
so. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that's so true. I always say I was fortunate because I didn't grow up in an environment where everybody was going off to a four-year institution and everybody was trying to get into a specific school. It was just amazing for me, and I was very fortunate to be able to go off to school. I went to Cornell University as an undergrad, and when I was growing up, I didn't even know what Ivy League meant. I didn't know what APs were. I mean, that just wasn't a part of my community, but I still had great people looking out for me to make sure I took that next step.
Yeah, and it's a testament to the fact that you don't have to be in that type of community where you're driven to, in the sense that anyone can apply to Caltech and still have a chance of getting in as long as they it's within the opportunities that they've been given, if they try their hardest, and that it's not necessarily everyone's judged accordingly. So is there something that could have made your high school experience more enriching or better in some way, looking back, so that the current high schoolers can take that advice and use it in their lives?
I think, when I look at my own high school, it has come a long ways. So if I go back to my community now, their curriculum has gotten to be more rigorous. I think in my kind of experience back in the late 80s, there really wasn't many different kinds of academic tracks for people who were challenged or who wanted more of a challenging academic program. And so I think if I were to talk to my teachers back then, or my curriculum, the people who organized our curriculum back then, I would ask for more rigor in our program. But again, it was a small school in a modest community, so there just wasn't that kind of mentality to get students prepared in that sort of way.
So looking back, using this hindsight, suppose you did have 10 extra hours a week as a high schooler. Is there something you would have learned in addition to what you did or done with that time, retrospectively?
I wish I actually had a chance to do more research while I was in high school. I didn't think about research. It wasn't really even discussed. But there was a couple of companies in our town that I thought, if I think back now, I wish I approached them and see if there's opportunities to do more research there. And I hope the students in that community are taking advantage of that now.
So what type of, was it like a biology or physics, or what type of things interest you in terms of science? Are you partial to one aspect, or what type of company were you interested in back then?
I think when I was in high school, I was more focused on biology. But as my life has gone on, I definitely like physics, mechanics. I was lucky as a high school kid. My father is a pilot, so he taught me how to fly. So I love kind of aerodynamics, aerospace. Although I wasn't an engineer as an undergraduate, I still love that field of science. Interesting.
So moving on to our fun, lighthearted segment. If you could meet any person, currently alive or from history, who would it be?
That's That's a great question. I saw you had wrote that to me before, and I was trying to kind of think about all the different amazing people in this world that I'd love to sit down with. For me, I love world history. I love learning about just kind of what's happened in our society. My family happens to be Native American, specifically Iroquois, and there's lots of people in our history that I'd love to be able to sit down and meet and talk to, especially those who work together to bring our tribes together. So I think some of those individual kind of leaders in our Native American community, specifically the Iroquois, would be very amazing for me to sit down and talk with. People who've certainly have left an amazing legacy in our tribe.
Yeah, and so is there anything in particular you would like to talk to them about? Would you, or if you could go back to Einstein, would you tell him that E equals MC squared, or any particular topics that interest you now that you would be interested to tell them about, the Iroquois leaders?
I think if you look at my tribe or our nation, just the way they formed 6 different tribes and brought them together, where they weren't kind of friendly before, but they came together and formed their alliance. I thought that was a pretty amazing thing to do back then. And just looking at kind of the culture of the United States and how we've come together, it's pretty, that group of individuals back then, hundreds of years ago, decided to come together and create a bond that has stayed together through history and even to today.
Yeah, interesting. Well, if only Congress could get together, work on certain things.
I know.
So,
That's
yeah. So if you could be a part of any you said you like history. So is there any particular event that you wish you could have been back there, witnessed it? Anything that rings a bell in your mind?
I'm fascinated by the Civil War, and more so just the sad aspect of it, how we're basically fighting each other, killing each other within our own country. And I'm not saying I'd want to go back and live during that time of life, but I'd love to be able to sit down with the leaders of that time and just question, why are you doing this? What are you gaining from this? And sadly, we're seeing things in our society today of killings and things of that nature. And it seems like it's a never-ending rotation.
Yeah, so true. Isn't there a canon at Caltech? Was that from the Civil War? I'm not sure. Outside of a house that went to MIT, and then brought it back. There's an interesting story behind that, right?
Yeah, if you look at the canon, it's definitely an old military canon, and the house on campus, the residence on campus, actually got it from a local military school that closed its doors many years ago. And you're right. I think it was in 2005 or 2006. MIT students dressed as a moving company came literally on our campus, gave some quote unquote professional paperwork to our security staff as if they were going to go and renovate it. And they literally drove it across the country and put it on our campus. The irony of this whole thing was that I was at Harvard University doing my graduate studies. And while I was at Harvard, my friend who was an MIT graduate student told me, hey, we have this cannon from Caltech. You have to come check it out. I didn't know about the rivalry then, but I did take some photos on the cannon over at MIT's campus. Photos I've not shown my colleagues here at Caltech.
MIT, those guys. So,
Yes.
So it's interesting. So now it's a tradition of Pixel Talk to end these interviews with a short, lighthearted segment called This or That. So it's a series of fun questions, and if you could just answer them in a word or 2 words, would you be willing to participate?
Yes, please.
Okay. So what's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is either I go for a run or I get on our home elliptical machine and exercise.
Yeah, so I'm getting into the habit of wearing contacts. Do you wear contacts? That's always a challenge. I just got them, so it's really hard. Getting them in is easy, but getting them out, it's such a chore.
I'm fortunate. I don't have glasses yet, but I have 2 young children, so I have to get up very early in the morning before they wake up, so I can get my exercise in.
Parenting life. So when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Did you know you'd be or did you have a feeling you wanted to go into university or becoming an admissions officer, or was it just just the way life took you?
It's the way life took me, but I think in high school I was more focused on biology, as I said earlier, because I wanted to be in marine science. I always thought it'd be awesome to work with dolphins and whales and sharks. So I thought of that route earlier in my high school years.
So for the next question, I think, the answer, it's sitting behind you, but what's the most interesting thing in your office? Is it the rug, or behind yours is something else?
Actually, this Pendleton blanket behind me is pretty special, but it's probably not the most special thing in my office. I have lots of really cool things that bring me back in different times, but I'm going to tilt my camera a little bit, and you're going to see, I can't see it too well, but I'll get a little bit closer. So on my wall is a group of Native American students who are just graduating from Dartmouth College back in 1995 or 96, I forget the year. And those particular students were the first group of Native American students I worked with when I was overseeing recruitment of Native American students at Dartmouth College. And the reason why that's a pretty special picture up on my wall is because it basically motivates me and reassures me the work that I'm doing is very meaningful, not just for American Indians, but just for all student populations. So it's just a reminder of why I do the work that I do.
Certainly, and it opens up so many doors for students. So what's the favorite app on your phone?
You broke out there. What was that question?
What's the favorite app on your phone? Do you have a particular app you like, or a game, or something other than the standard mail or phone, or those type of things?
Well, when I actually can use my phone, when my kids aren't grabbing it from me to watch their different YouTube kids shows, I like to certain kinds of aviation games I like to play, basically simulation games. So if I'm waiting at an airport and my kids aren't with me, I love just flying airplanes at different airports and testing out my skills that way.
Do you ever play the flight control game where you have to see where the planes are going to land, and you have to draw the path, and hopefully they don't crash in the air traffic?
Yes, I've played that before too. Yes.
Okay. So who's been the greatest influence on you?
The greatest influence on me, well, definitely growing up were my parents. I was fortunate, even though my parents divorced at a young age, they really were very supportive of me for my educational goals, my professional goals, and my personal goals. So I couldn't have asked for anything better than having two parents to be able to support me in that way. But today, I'll definitely give credit to my wife, who's been with me. We started dating back in 1996, and we're raising two young children, and we just have really great common goals and passions in life.
Interesting. So our last question: coffee, tea, or smoothies?
Definitely smoothie. I'm not a caffeine, coffee, or tea drinker.
Which type? I just recently started making my own. You put in a couple of strawberries, blueberries, a little bit of milk, and then bananas and a little bit of mango. But the best thing is, you don't have to put any sugar, because when you actually go to the store, you find out there's so much sugar. Do you have any particular flavor you like?
Every morning, I cut up some bananas, maybe some apples, blueberries, strawberries, a couple of things of spinach, and then I mix it in with a little bit of orange juice and a little bit of frozen yogurt. That's my smoothie.
Interesting. So we'd like to thank Mr. Whitney for graciously sparing his time here at Pixeltech, and hopefully not inspiring not only the Stanford OHS community, but youth around the country and maybe even around the world. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Hello, Pixel Talk. This week, Tej asked me to film a video about anything that interests me, so I chose photography. I'm not sure how much you're going to learn by watching this, but we'll have hung out all over the Bay Area and have some pretty cool photos to remember the experience. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to our first location. Here we go. Whoa, how'd I do that? There we go. Okay, looking good. Yay. What better place to go first than the home of the Pixel? So I'm gonna walk around, find some cool stuff to shoot, and then show you guys. I'm at Stanford Memorial Church right now. There it is. I'm gonna snap some pictures behind this bush because the colors are really vibrant. I think it'll be really cool against the gold paint on the church. Alright guys, now we're in, I forget what it's called, but you stand in the middle of this thing, and if you whisper, it echoes all across this little circle here. What's nice is that there's sun coming in from the trees, so I think we can use that to our advantage. Well, the truth, it hurts.
words to say.
We got our photos at Stanford. Off to the next spot. Look where we are. We're in San Francisco now. Hi, Mom. We're in Presidio at Fort Point. So we're right on the shore of San Francisco Bay, and we have Golden Gate in the background. And I'm gonna have to climb up that hill to get a good shot because there are some ugly buildings in the way. I found myself a little rock that I can sit on right on the shore that'll look out to the Golden Gate at a pretty good angle. I actually met a nice couple. They asked me for a photo and I told them that I could take some with my nice camera. It worked out really well, so I think we'll get some cool photos from that. Guys, on to the next location. Say goodbye to the Golden Gate Bridge. It was nice seeing you. Let's go. Alright, we're at Edificio de Mujeres, which is a building in the Mission in San Francisco. It's covered in art. The building is for a nonprofit organization led entirely by women, and they specialize in art education in the inner city. So it's a really special place. I'm going to go ahead and take some photos of it.
I've got to say, I know you used to love me, but that was yesterday. And now all you do is you treat me cold. When the love stops burning, yeah, you got to.
We are done at Edificio de Mujeres. It was a little hard to work with because it's a tall building, and so most of the photos were angled upwards. Some of the art you couldn't see. Either there was a glare or you couldn't see the top of the building. I'm sure I got a few cool pictures. I have to head back to the train station. Forgot to snap us out of here. Guess who needs a nap? It's me. That's the end of the photography segment on Pixel Talk. Be sure to watch every single Pixel Talk and let us know if you want more art in Pixel Talk. Thanks for watching.
Hi everyone, my name is Claire Langdon, and recently I attended a meeting at my local library where Bob Wright gave a speech. Mr. Wright, a successful businessman and philanthropist, is known for working leading positions at both General Electric and NBC. Additionally, in response to his grandson's diagnosis of autism, Wright co-founded the charity Autism Speaks, a renowned charity that increases awareness on the illness and the stigma surrounding it. He also works to increase awareness on pancreatic cancer, as his wife Suzanne recently passed away from the disease. As such an integral leader of such notable companies, Bob Wright has had influential and rare opportunities, such as getting to personally know 7 United States presidents. During his speech, in relation to the current American political scene, he alluded to the observations that he made from his encounters with them, and employed them in relaying his political views. For example, he argued that a Clinton presidency would mean that there would be 28 years in which the White House would be either under the Clintons or the Bushes' power, a pattern which could be paralleled to an almost monarchical setup. Furthermore, he made the point that, although Trump and his opinions are disputable, he has few to no previous political ties, which would make a Trump presidency less susceptible to the prior-mentioned scrutiny. Aside from his political allusions, because Mr. Wright has had so many unique entrepreneurial, economic, political, and philanthropic opportunities and experiences, he wrote a book documenting the significance of his encounters, including entries on business and charity. The book is intriguing because it entails the experiences and outlooks only offered by someone with the level and diversity of his experiences and endeavors. The title of the book is The Right Stuff, From NBC to Autism Speaks, and can be purchased online and at multiple bookstores. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Until then,